Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome not just a very, very senior bureaucrat, but also someone who's giving back, Ruby Ahluwalia. Ruby, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ruby is the founder of Sanjeevni, an NGO which handles life beyond cancer. She's a bureaucrat from the civil services of the 1987 batch. She was conferred with the award or title, Pride of Uttarakhand, and she's also received several other awards. And as all of you who are listening know me, I'm very partial to authors. She's author of a book called Fragrance of a Wild Soul. So Ruby, let's talk today about Sanjeevni. Tell me about this organization and your motivation to start.
Okay, all right. So, Ashutosh, I had gone through an experience of cancer myself in 2009, and I was in stage 3 of cancer, which had become metastatic. Wow. So, when I was going through my experience, it wasn't easy. It was not easy at all. And in fact, it was as horrible as it is supposed to be, as it is known to be.
Correct.
And when I was going to Tata Hospital, I would always think about that I'm going through this experience with all the resources that I have. And there are so many people in the same hospital going through a similar experience or maybe worse without any of the resources, that I had. And this is what kind of remained in my mind, or you can say this is what haunted me actually. So when I was declared cancer-free in 2012 and I joined my work back, at the same time, I just went and registered Sanjeevani Life Beyond Cancer to work with underprivileged cancer patients.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Wonderful. And, I was reading about you and I went through your website. What is the kind of support you give to people who have a similar affliction?
So, as I was telling you that I saw these people who would come to the hospital and then they would get lost in that sea of, a government cancer hospital. That is what I used to see. So the first project that we started, which is now called CanUtsav, was about having Sanjeevani people in the OPD itself, where they can completely handhold the patient, which means that when the patient comes, how will he approach the doctor? What are the questions he should be asking the doctor? Because the doctors have 3 to 4 minutes in a government hospital for the patient. So you've been kind of, diagnosed with cancer, and then you go to the doctor who may not even look up and just, write your protocol. And not because he wants to be mean to you, but just because he has so many patients. So, so completely handhold them. When they would come out, where will they get their financial support from? Where can they go and stay if they are traveling from outside? What would be the side effects of the treatment and how to handle them? And the emotional support and the family support and the relationship support, So everything is given to them through the OPD of the hospital. So today, this Cancer Yogi program, which started from one hospital in Tata in Bombay, now runs in 17 government cancer hospitals. Wow. So this was the first project. Then I also realized that a lot of people, they lose their jobs, during the treatment of cancer. And there is so much of need for cancer caregivers. And that is how I started this program, which is now called CanUtsav, which is to train cancer survivors and their relatives to become cancer caregivers. So it's a 4-month full-time training program. So that is another thing we do. The third program that we run is we work on the immunity of cancer patients, because now I've understood that immunity has a huge role to play in this whole game of cancer. So this is a 36 session program which we run called Satori, and it has become so popular. Of course, we have worked with lakhs of patients through this, that even the doctors want to do it, the corporates who end up supporting us, they also want to do this program. So it's become...
So tell me a little bit more about Satori, since it's such a popular program.
All right. So in Satori, what I realized through my personal experience, through all the reading that I did and the conversations that I made, that immunity has a huge role to play in cancer. Now, if we can increase our immunity, number one, we can deal with our cancer in a much, much better way. Number two, we can reduce the probability of the recurrence of cancer. So we work on people through their food, breath, and mental constructs. So these are the three things which majorly impact our immunity. And we try and work through all these three dimensions, and with amazing results, amazing outcomes.
And at what stage should one start looking at immunity if one has contracted cancer?
Immediately, ASAP. Yeah. And why only if one has got cancer? Actually, all the awareness programs that we do through CanUtsav are all focused on why to increase your immunity and how to increase your immunity. So we work majorly in awareness with college students and corporates and communities. And yeah, the whole program is focused towards how to avoid.
Oh, so what you're saying is that this education of immunity is for every human being.
Absolutely.
Okay, I understand.
Yes. So this is the third program, the Satori. The fourth program, I landed up talking to you through CanUtsav. Yeah. And we, of course, run other programs like CanAhar, where we give nutrition boxes to female cancer patients to start with because of limited financial support. And we do CanVarta. So we do a lot of stuff around cancer, actually.
And what about your last one, CanUtsav?
So CanUtsav, actually, this was something which was always in my mind, that cancer is like a disease and it needs to be handled like a project. And one is alive today, and one is getting better through whatever one is doing. This needs to be celebrated. So celebration is a big thing in Sanjeevni, and that is why Sanjeevni Life Beyond Cancer. So we have these CanUtsav events in which we call patients, we call survivors, we call doctors, we call nursing staff, and it's all about celebration. So these are a lot of events which we do, actually.
Fascinating. So Ruby, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions on how you felt. And I've spoken to many people who have gone through cancer, and people have different feelings, including why me. So I'd love to understand, how did you feel when you were first told?
Numb, absolutely numb for some time. And somehow the feeling which kind of overwhelmed me for quite some time was not exactly why me, but like, how come me? So my battle was not that I've got it and somebody else hasn't got it. So, why? No, that was not my issue somehow. My issue was that I thought, at least, like most of us do think, that I was doing everything right. So how come I got it? What just happened? So yeah, this was my initial thing.
Okay. And what was the support you got from family and friends? How did they react?
Immediate family, of course, was totally heartbroken. But immediately they kind of, pumped themselves and they understood this will not work. And the same with friends. Yeah. So they came around. But like initially there was a lot of, everybody going down. And in fact, I had to come up and tell them, things are okay. So let's kind of.
I'm okay.
People,
yeah.
We will work this out.
Very interesting. So, I'm sure you're doing this in Sanjeevni from so many others, for so many other people. How does one remain mentally strong during the process of discovery and recovery?
Ashutosh, we remain strong in life with or without cancer. Only because we dream. We pursue our dreams.
Correct.
We have a purpose in life. We pursue our purpose in life. So when a crisis happens, and it could be cancer, I think what needs to be understood is that we don't need to stop dreaming. We don't need to stop pursuing whatever we were pursuing. We don't need to forget about the purpose of our life. So I think that is something which keeps people on the track. And why do I say that? Because that is what kept me on the track. And now, having worked with lots of patients in Sanjeevni, what works is just reminding them, just think of what you were working on and let's go on. And in fact, if you were, operating on this platform, now we will operate on a higher one, actually.
Very interesting. So, the other question that I have for you, and again, this is based on a lot of conversations with many people, including my own personal family experiences. Why are we seeing such a significant increase in the incidence of cancer? It is surely not just because one cell did not, split correctly.
Yeah. What I feel is that there is a lot of erosion of external environment, and there is a lot of erosion is in internal environment. And these two are totally, creating this kind of a catastrophe which is happening. So in 1960s, 1970s, when the external environment had started eroding, still we were in somehow control of our internal environment. But gradually, if you will see these days, most people, their emotion on which they operate on a daily basis is anxiety, is anger, is jealousy, and a kind of sadness, so much of competition, so much of running, rushing. So all these, through all these things, we are compromising our immunity in a big way. And then the external environment, of course, is not supporting in any which way, because the air is getting polluted, the food is getting polluted. So nothing is working right. So although we may not be in control of the external environment to that extent, but I think we need to work majorly on our internal environment to get control of the situation.
Amazing. So what I'm hearing you say, Ruby, is that negative emotions could result in challenges to our bodies.
Ashutosh, could nahi, do result.
Do result,
they
okay.
Do result, absolutely. If you got that thing right, if you got your mental constructs right, after that you can take on the world. People can have poison and survive well. They eat just nothing and they survive. So I think our mental constructs need to be worked upon.
Amazing. So one more question related to cancer before I move to your book. Is cancer hereditary?
Cancer, like anything else, could be hereditary. the nose or the eyes that I have could or could not be from, the gene I could be. But anything which is hereditary or anything which is coming through the gene needs the right environment to blossom. So even if there is a gene, the doctors, they talk about is that you have an 85% chance. That's the max that they talk about. But what about that 15%, which is with me? Unless and until I provide the right environment to that gene to flourish, it will not flourish. And for the cancer gene, the right environment to flourish is the toxic environment, which we have in our body.
I see. Why I asked you this question is when my brother had 4th stage colon cancer, and we found it at the 4th stage. After he passed away, the first thing the doctor asked me to do was to go and get a colonoscopy for me and my brother. So both of you are his elder brothers, so you got to go and get your test done immediately. What got me thinking that maybe there is something to do with the genes also.
Yeah, it could be. But what I am saying is that let's work upon the environment which will not let any disease flourish. Forget about the cancer gene.
Absolutely.
So let's work on that.
Well said. So Ruby, now let me move to the next segment of our conversation, which is what your book, Fragrance of a Wild Soul. Tell me about this book and what led you to write it.
Ashutosh, I got cured of cancer in 2012. I started writing the book in 2018.
In
18.
Okay.
Which is like good 6 years later. Why? Because I was not planning to write a book on my experience. I was not thinking like that. What happened was there were some learnings from my own experience because when I went to the doctor and he told me that now you are free of cancer, I asked him, great, I'm so happy to hear this. But tell me what medicine do I need to take so that I don't have a recurrence? He said, Ruby, there is no medicine for that, but you will have to keep getting your checkups done. So that day I understood that becoming cancer-free is one thing and remaining cancer-free is another.
Wow.
So I need to explore this, So there was a lot of learning happened, which was as a result of this exploration. I had started Sanjeevni in 2012. So I started meeting a lot of patients, their relatives. I also started meeting a lot of people in the outside world. And what I understood was that these days people are working on themselves, but probably in an erratic way. So just talking of women are working towards becoming a super mom, a super wife, a super professional. But in this whole game, they are becoming an under average themselves. Yeah. And when they become under average themselves, that is where they compromise on their immunity big time.
Right.
So all of us, we have created our own cancers. They may not have become tumors as yet. So my purpose of writing the book was to understand how, without realizing, we are creating these pits for ourselves. What kind of a cost we may have to pay for this, and how we can come out of these self-created pits. So this was the thing. And I, of course, took it through my story as to how I went through, this whole journey of creating a pit, understanding it, and coming out of it. So yes, through my personal experience.
Amazing. And is this book available on Amazon?
Yes, it is available on Amazon and on Flipkart and all the online platforms.
Wonderful. So, Ruby, I'm now going to move to the last segment of our conversation. All our viewers and listeners love to get to know my guest a little better. So I have a few questions that I call personal questions.
Okay.
So my first question to you is, what would you say are 3 key milestones or pivot points in your life or your career?
Yeah. So I got through the civil services through the 1986 exam. And I think that was a milestone because it gave me a platform to operate on a totally different level and created a canvas for me to work on, which was huge and which was wide. So that was one thing. Getting married and becoming a mom was a huge milestone. And then starting Sanjeevani, Life Beyond Cancer, after having gone through my own experience, I think I could call that the third one.
Okay, wonderful. I have time for 3 more questions. So my next question is that in a life well lived, in doing so much work through Sanjeevani, from where you stand today, what does success mean to Ruby?
For me, success is achieving that state from where you can pursue your own goals or your own purpose on your own terms.
Okay.
In your own way.
Well said.
And yes, I think yes, that is what it's.
And a follow-up question to success is, who or what inspires you to do so many amazing things, in addition to all the work that you're doing with the government?
The situations and just seeing that possibility of amending that situation, totally, giving it a turnaround and converting an adversity into an opportunity. As soon as I see that possibility in any situation, it inspires me big time.
Incredible. And my last question to you, this is a question on failure. I've also very often said that parents in South Asia, I'm a parent as well, don't teach children it's okay to fail. We're always told, come first in class, go to the head of the line, and that manifests itself in our behavior patterns. Yeah. Yet we fail and we learn. So my question to you is, what have been your learnings from some of your mistakes?
My biggest learning has been that I am important. I am the most important person for myself.
Wow.
This is my biggest learning. Because I think the way we are taught and the way we are brought up, it is always taught that if you do things for others, you kind of become bigger than yourself. And that was a misnomer with which I was living as well. And I thought that I'm doing everything right. And in the process, I neglected my core big time. And I paid a cost for it. And once I came out of it, I realized that attending to yourself is not becoming self-centered. It is centering on the self, which is extremely important to live the life that you are meant to live.
Amazing, amazing. Ruby, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for talking to me so much about Sanjeevani and all the incredible work that you're doing. And thank you on behalf of all my viewers and listeners for the amazing things you're doing for so many people who are afflicted with this horrible C word.
Thank you. Thank you. The pleasure was all mine. The honor was all mine. Thank you so much.
Thank you again. Thank you for listening to the brand called You Videocast and Podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.